Hey, what's up guys? I'm Raven and today I'll be showing you how to install a Z-Start Pro clutch. The specific bike we'll be working on is the 2011 KTM 450 SXF. Laying the bike on its side allows for a much easier installation. 1, you don't have to drain the transmission oil, and 2, you have gravity working on your side when it comes time to install the steel ball assembly. The first thing we need to do is get the rear brake pedal out of the way. To do this, you can push the rear caliper down and depress the brake pedal. While holding the brake down, insert a screwdriver so the pedal does not spring back up. Now we're ready to remove the stock clutch cover. Once the cover is removed, we can take out the pressure plate. With the pressure plate gone, we can now remove the stock throwout. It is important to remember that we will be reinstalling this stock throwout with the Z-Start Pro. Next, we can remove the center clutch nut. To do this, bend the tabs down on the tab lock washer, holding it in place. The easiest way to do this is by using a hammer and a flathead screwdriver. At this point, we want to make sure that the bike is in gear. To further prevent the center clutch from spinning, you can place a hammer handle in between the spokes and the top of the swing arm. Note here that you can also hold the rear brake pedal down if you do not want to put anything in your rear wheel. Using the correct size socket and a breaker bar, remove the center clutch nut. If you have an air gun, you can use that too. The center clutch is now ready to be removed with all of the frictions and drive plates. It is important to inspect the back of the center clutch in case your stock thrust washer sticks to the back. The thrust washer should remain in the stock position inside the basket. Separate the frictions from your stock drive plates. We will be putting these frictions back in with the new drive plates supplied in your kit. Now we can begin installing the Z-Start Pro. The first thing we need is the new center clutch. For this particular install, we will be installing the anti-squeal kit. Place the 3 rubber O-rings evenly spaced on the center clutch base. The base has 6 indents, so place an O-ring in every other slot. Make sure that your stock thrust washer is in place, and then install the new center clutch. You should fill the center clutch index and seat itself within the clutch basket on the main shaft. Next step is to install the tab lock washer, and to do that we bend the middle tab down. Clamping the middle tab in a bench vise and using a hammer is the easiest way to get a straight 90-degree bend. Place the tab lock washer with bent side face down. Now reinstall the stock center clutch nut. Before torquing the center clutch nut, swap the bar to the underside of the swing arm. Again, you can hold the rear brake pedal down if you prefer. Use your torque wrench to torque the center clutch nut to OEM specification. Grab your channel lock pliers and bend the 2 unbent tabs up against the nut. Spin the center clutch at least 1 full rotation with the bike in neutral to make sure it is not bound up. We can now install the clutch pack, starting with a new drive plate followed by one of your stock friction discs. Continue this pattern and reference the diagram found in your manual. Before you install the last friction disc, since we are installing the anti-squeal kit, we need to install 3 metal Belleville washers into the center clutch. The center clutch is pre-made with slots to accept these washers. It's not a bad idea to put a shop towel or paper cloth into the center clutch in case you drop a Belleville into the basket. Otherwise, the Belleville washer can fall through the center clutch. The Belleville washer should be installed with open side facing up. Using the flat blade of your screwdriver, seat the Belleville washers into the center clutch. After you install your last friction, reinstall your stock throwout with the supplied throwout spacer. On this model, we will be installing 2 beveled washers open side up. And now we're going to install the rotating hub into the center clutch and make sure that you index it correctly. To index the rotating hub correctly, make sure you line up the notches on the rotating hub with the tabs inside the center clutch. A properly indexed rotating hub looks like this and has a space above it for the snap ring. This is the snap ring, and you install it in the groove within the center clutch. Using a flat blade screwdriver, rotate the snap ring within the center clutch to ensure that it is seated correctly. We will be setting this clutch up with the recommended settings. This gives us a medium engagement, RPM, and a hard engagement rate. It uses the C200L7 wave spring with 24 steel and 3 tungsten carbide balls. Place the wave spring on the rotating hub. These are the balls that come with your kit, and you can't tell by looking at them, but the tungstens are about twice as heavy and less magnetic than the steel. This particular setup uses 8 steel balls followed by 1 tungsten carbide ball. This pattern should be followed until all slots are filled. Now you are ready to install the pressure plate assembly. Place the pressure plate assembly on top of the wave spring on top of the rotating assembly. It is very important to line this up on the rotating hub as well as within the basket. Now install the top plate with 2 torque screws directly across from each other. Using the no-go gauges supplied in your kit, it is vital that you check your install gap. Insert the no-go gauges directly across from each other. These are placed between the pressure plate and the top friction disc. If both no-go gauges slide in with 0 resistance, your gap is too big and you must adjust that using a thicker drive plate. It is also possible that the friction plates may be worn out and need to be replaced. Once your gap is set correctly, you can move on to installing the remaining torque bolts. Be sure to use Loctite on the torque screws. This should be Loctite 243. The bolts should be tightened using a star pattern, tightening the opposite bolt before the adjacent bolt. Torque the bolts to 25 inch-pounds. With the Z-Start Pro, you can either reuse your stock cover with the supplied thick gasket, or you can use a Rekluse clutch cover like I did. Now it's time to ride! Don't get left behind!